What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Now it is time for the match week 2 of the Champions League group stages 2019-2020 season. Before we get into it, please smash a like on this video, and once again, let's try and reach 100 likes like we did in the previous video. You guys absolutely crushed it. The supportive comments are great as always, and if you want to comment something else as well, leave your predictions for the week 2 games down in the comments below. Now week 1 was full of surprises, like full of a lot of surprises, and I got a lot of results right, but I didn't get any perfect scores. I would say the thing I'm most proud of from week 1 was predicting that PSG would put 3 past Real Madrid. I predicted 3-1 final score, and it was actually 3-0. But then again, Real Madrid had 2 disallowed goals. I think that was a fair prediction from me there. But today in this video, we're going to be going over the week 2 predictions, and with every Champions League video, I will highlight any sort of perfect scores I get from the previous week, or just cool predictions like that one I made in each episode. So yeah, leave your comments down below with what you think is going to happen in these games, and let's get started. Kicking it off with Atalanta versus Shakhtar Donetsk. Now, I don't know if I overrated or overestimated Atalanta's abilities, or underestimated Zagreb, or they just had an off day, but Atalanta got pumped 4-0 away from home, and Shakhtar Donetsk did lose 3-0 to Manchester City. So there's these two teams, they're going to want to get a win, both of them, after suffering heavy defeats in the first week. Atalanta being the more shocking in a way, but then again, Atalanta were away from home and Shakhtar Donetsk were at home, so it's a different story. But I'm going to go for Atalanta to actually get a win here at home against Shakhtar, 2-1. Now, as I said in the previous video, I'm going to try and get through these predictions a little bit quicker, because there are a lot more games to go through, so we don't want to delay too much. But the next game is Real Madrid versus Club Brugge, and Real Madrid, although the personnel isn't looking the best, like they're in a bit of turmoil, no one knows what's going on with Gareth Bale, there's friction between the clubs, they're actually sitting at the top of La Liga. They did lose to PSG, but other than that, they're in a fairly decent spot, and with the group they're in, they should still not struggle to qualify, and I predicted they'd finish second in the group behind PSG, and even if they did, for them, that'd be fine. I'm going for a straightforward win here against Club Brugge, and who actually drew 0-0 with Galatasaray. I'm going for a 3-0 Real Madrid win. The next game is, in fact, Galatasaray against PSG. Galatasaray drawing 0-0 with Club Brugge away from home. Not a bad result, but obviously if you're looking to get out of the group with PSG and Real Madrid, you're probably going to want to take all the points against your other opponent in the group. But PSG, obviously, they're looking good. They did lose a shock result in League 1. They lost 2-0. But I do see PSG winning this one. I don't know the situation with injuries, Neymar, Mbappe. I don't, like I said, know the situation. But my dad said that he reckoned that PSG played a bit better without those two, because Di Maria was able to shine, and obviously they just seem to play more as a unit. And with a player like Neymar, although he provides individual brilliance, he's had a few late winners lately, that doesn't surprise you. It wouldn't surprise you if you told someone that. They'd probably have no problem believing it. But I'm going to go for a comfortable enough 2-0 away win to PSG in this fixture. The next game is Juventus up against Bayer Leverkusen. Now, Bayer Leverkusen lost to Lokomotiv Moscow at home, and I said that Lokomotiv Moscow would be lucky to get more than 3 points in the entire group stage, and they're actually sat at the top of the group with those 3 points that they got from Bayer Leverkusen, which is just, it's absolutely phenomenal when you think about it. They've kind of surprised me there a little bit. But I think for this one, Juventus are going to win. I think that the struggles are going to continue for Bayer Leverkusen, and I think they're going to have to pick it up in the latter stages of the group stage if they want anything other than 4th place, you know, even with Lokomotiv Moscow in the group. So I'm going to go for a Juventus win here. I expect Bayer Leverkusen to score, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Juventus. The next game is Lokomotiv Moscow, who won, obviously, famously in that first week against Leverkusen and Atletico Madrid. I think this is going to be a very, very close game, because it is away from home for Atletico Madrid, and they are notoriously much better, obviously, at the Fortress at home, and they're not as, you know, certain away from home, and Lokomotiv Moscow, Russia's a hard place to go. I think this could be quite a tight game, but I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Atletico Madrid. I'm going for a João Felix goal, maybe 2. But I think Atletico Madrid are just going to get the beating of Lokomotiv Moscow in this game. The next fixture is Manchester City up against Dinamo Zagreb. Zagreb coming off of a 4-0 win against Atalanta, who are no pushovers. Bear that in mind. And obviously Man City beating Shakhtar Donetsk 3-0, who, although Man City are a class above Shakhtar, they also aren't that bad. Shakhtar Donetsk have handed defeats to Manchester City in the Champions League previously. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I see nothing more than a Manchester City win at the Etihad Stadium. They've already had a few scares at the start of the season. You know, they lost to Norwich. They drew with Tottenham. I think they've already been kicked enough at the start of the season for them to go on the same sort of rampage they did last year when Liverpool were like 11 points ahead and then they won every game, Manchester City. I already think that's kind of happened with them and they're going to do it again. So I'm going to go for a 4-0 win to Manchester City in this one. I think this is their year to get a little bit further in the Champions League. I really do. The next game is Red Star Belgrade up against Olympiakos. Red Star Belgrade lost 3-0 to Bayern Munich. I predicted 4-0, so not far away from that, but it is away from home for Red Star. It's always going to be difficult for them. And Olympiakos came from 2-0 down after Tottenham threw away the lead to draw 2-2. So it was a good performance from them. Momentum is definitely with them. Red Star Belgrade is a tough place to go, but Olympiakos, in the same sense, is a tough place to go. So Olympiakos are used to playing in that sort of atmosphere, and I think Olympiakos will just be able to go to Red Star Belgrade and get a win. I'm going to go for a win. I mean, Red Star could win 2-0. They just could. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Olympiakos. Now, the next game is one of the games of the week, really. It's Tottenham up against Bayern Munich. Like I said, Tottenham drawing with Olympiakos, Bayern Munich dispatching of Red Star Belgrade, but this is at home for Tottenham, which will play into their hands, I think. Do I think Tottenham are going to beat Bayern Munich? I really don't. They've been looking a little bit shaky in the league and obviously in the Champions League. They threw away their game. They lost to Colchester in the League Cup on penalties, so it's really not looking good for them. I think it's going to be high scoring, very similar to the Tottenham-Manchester City game of last year's Champions League. I'm going to go for a 3-2 away win to Bayern Munich. The next game should be a little bit easier to predict. It is Genk versus Napoli. Genk obviously got absolutely slapped about by FC Salzburg 6-2 in the previous fixture, and Napoli had a very well-deserved win over Liverpool 2-0. So I think this is going to be an easy enough game for Napoli. With it being away, it might be, not like 5-0 or anything like that. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Napoli, leaving them in a really good spot. I do think Napoli will qualify. In the same way I think Liverpool will qualify, but it'll just be who's going to finish at the top now, because Napoli have made that very interesting. The next game is Slavia Prague, everyone's underdog, against Borussia Dortmund. Now, Dortmund did play Barcelona and it ended 0-0 in the first week, and I predicted Dortmund to beat Barcelona by a goal, and really Dortmund should have done. They missed a penalty, they had a plethora of chances, so did Barcelona, but I think if any team deserved to win, I think Dortmund should have taken that opportunity to take the win, but they weren't able to. And Slavia Prague almost got the win against Inter Milan and would have done if it weren't for a late Inter Milan goal. So a bit of a standout, a bit of a surprise there. So I think it's going to be close because Slavia Prague at home, they're going to be performing better than they did away, and they managed to hold Inter Milan to a draw and almost win in Italy. So I think this is going to be tougher for Borussia Dortmund than they want to let on, but I do think that the firepower of Dortmund will get them through in the end, and I think it's going to be a very close and entertaining 2-1 Borussia Dortmund win. The next game is Barcelona up against Inter Milan. Now, Messi's not looking right. I don't know if it's like age showing in the sense that he's picking up a few injuries. He's struggling to stay on the pitch. I don't know if he'll be playing in this game, but Inter Milan, they had the shaky start up against Slavia Prague, and maybe they'll surprise everyone, and maybe Barcelona will have a shock exit from the group stage. I really don't know, because they're just not looking quite right like Barcelona at this point in time, but I do just think at the Nou Camp Barcelona are going to win, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Barcelona, because Inter Milan, they've been doing very well in Serie A. They're the only team with a 100% record, I believe, and they're looking good, and I think this might be a slip up for them against Barcelona away from home, that is. So I'm going for that 2-0 win to Barcelona. The next fixture is Lille up against Chelsea. Lille have had a pretty decent start to the season in League One, and Chelsea are playing a positive brand of football, but the results haven't necessarily been going their way. Sometimes they've been unfortunate, like against Liverpool in the Premier League. I believe they deserved a bit more, and even against Valencia, you could argue they deserved a point, but they just threw it away. So I'm going with Chelsea to come out all guns blazing. It's not like Lille is too far away to go. It's in France. It's not like in Azerbaijan or something like that. So I think that Chelsea will just be able to get a win here. They need to. If they're serious about qualifying out of the group stage, I think Chelsea are going to want to pick up some points here. So I'm going to go for another 2-1 victory. A lot of 2-1 away victories predicted in this video, but that will be the last one. I'm going for Chelsea to win that one. The next game at Anfield, Liverpool versus FC Salzburg. Obviously, Liverpool see a lot of success at Anfield in the Champions League. They're a formidable force, and I'm going to go for a straightforward 3-0 win to Liverpool against FC Salzburg. Despite Salzburg's fantastic display against Genk, I think Liverpool, they're just a class above, especially at home, and they're going to get the job done. The next game is RB Leipzig versus Lyon. Lyon not doing as well as they'd want to in the French league. RB Leipzig currently top of the Bundesliga and were able to dispatch of Benfica. Not really dispatch, but but beat Benfica 2-1 away from home. I think at this point, Leipzig are definitely the favourites to finish top of the group. And I'm going to go for a high-scoring game. I think both teams will score. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to RB Leipzig. The next game is a powerhouse game in a way. Valencia versus Ajax. Ajax managed to win 3-0 against Lille after I predicted them to win 3-1. And Valencia were able to grab all 3 points from Chelsea, who I predicted would beat Valencia 2-1. Valencia actually won 1-0 right near the end. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here against Ajax at Valencia's home ground. I think at Ajax it would be a different story, 2 or 3-1. But Valencia have drawn a lot of games in the last year, and I think a team like Ajax won't just roll over and let Valencia win. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And the final game of the week is Zenit St. Petersburg versus Benfica. And I think this is going to be a very close game again. This group with Zenit, Benfica, Leipzig, and Lyon was very hard to predict the order of. No one would be considered crazy for putting the group in any order whatsoever. Maybe putting Leipzig on the bottom would be a little bit out there, but still at the same time, you wouldn't put it past it. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think Benfica have the edge on Petersburg in the sense I think they're a slightly better team. But away from home, I think it's going to be tough and they're just going to try and get something out of it. So I'm going for another 1-1 draw to finish the game week 2. So that is going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like on it. As I said, let's try and reach 100 likes. Leave your comments down below with your predictions as to what you think is going to happen. I hope you enjoy the games. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I will see you in the next one very soon.